Hey, Justin Nelson here with the Real Leverage podcast. And today we have Brian. Brian is a good friend out of the Arizona market. I really don't know where in the desert he is, so we'll talk about that here in just a second. But as always, today we are going to cover all things real estate leverage-wise. We are interviewing top producers around the country that have some type of leverage in place, whether that be an in-person assistant, a virtual assistant, husband, spouse, wife, you name it, whoever they're using as their assistants, maybe even their kids. But we just want to pick their brain, see how they got to where they got into their business and how their life has changed since producing leverage. So Brian, welcome and excited to have you on today, man.
Man, I'm excited. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so tell us, where out of the Arizona market are you currently located?
So our market center is Tempe. So I kind of talk about Arizona for other people who don't know much about it. Just think of all the big cities around in your state and kind of we just jam them together here in Arizona. And then you have desert, and then we have another city we call Tucson that nobody really here in the Tempe market talks about. So yeah, so it's just one big slab of land with a bunch of cities attached and then a bunch of desert around it. So
I love that. I love that. So I'm asking this question. Obviously, we've known each other for a good amount of time in the virtual assistant world. You got some virtual assistants. I have some virtual assistants, obviously, as people well know. But I don't even know, man, how'd you get into real estate, and what was kind of, your quick 2-3 minute journey from wherever you were before? Because I don't even know. So I'm genuinely interested myself.
yeah, so I had a friend actually talk me into getting into the mortgage business in 2001. So, everybody can see me, unfortunately. If it was just my voice, I could say, yeah, I started when I was a sophomore, but, it's not going to work. But, yeah, and then, just doing the mortgages for a while, I just decided to go over to the dark side and do the real estate side of it. So, again, been doing it since 2001 and have seen both sides of it and enjoy the good news side of it more than the bad news side. So
I love it, man. I love it. I don't even know, was I alive in 2001?
probably not. All right. Next topic.
It's a trick question. I was barely. So, so tell me, man. When did you first get leverage in your business? I know we'll talk more about it later, but did you have leverage in your mortgage business? Were you always like a solo in the mortgage business? So kind of talk about the leverage journey at a high level. When did you start getting assistance, and what did that journey look like for you?
Yeah, so always tried it, but never did it the right way. So it was always, having an assistant. It was short term just because I didn't know the right way to go about it. And there was never any systems in place, which is important. So, and you and I have had this conversation, on the real estate side, it was always, hey, I want this, virtual assistant to make expired calls for me. And that never worked out. I was probably 0 for 6 or 7 on that. And that's one of the first things that you teach is don't do it. Don't do the ISA part of it. But I wish I would have talked to you, 7 ISAs, before that. Yeah. But really have started to hit it hard, in about the last 12 have 4 of them now and look back, but it's definitely due to the systems and stuff that you taught. So for sure.
No, I love that, man. So what have you found? Because I know we have a lot of mortgage listeners on here as well. So you've kind of seen both sides of the business. I obviously have seen on the real estate side dealing with lenders over the last 20 years in terms of just looking at the business. Obviously, me not dealing with it for 20 years, but it seems like the lending business has a lot more assistance built into the processes, right? Maybe it's not the loan officer's personal assistant, but I seem to see they usually have underwriter assistants, people to handle your files, junior loan officers. They seem to have a better assistance program in different pieces of the business than real estate agents do. Am I off base there? Or, I know it's a different business, but did you see a little bit more leverage happening in the mortgage business compared to real estate?
Well, the mortgage business, and I say recently, probably the last 5 years, has really gone paperless. So that was a big thing for them. So the more paperless you are, the more you can use the leverage, of a virtual assistant. And I don't know of too many companies right now that are not paperless. As far as on the mortgage side, there's a few documents that have to have what they call wet signatures on them. But other than that, it's just all electronic, and it's as simple as, as long as they're not committing any violations or anything like that. It's as simple as having somebody send out the disclosures that are missing for, electronic signature. So yeah, both of them in their own way can utilize the virtual assistant part, but definitely mortgage as well, for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. And I think like, just looking at your business a little bit, I found that it's not only like in the transaction process, right? I think a lot of agents get bogged down and I need an assistant to do the transaction process, where I see in your business, just from the little bit I know, 80% of your VA's work is not even in the transaction process. Am I off there? Or is that kind of, you have them do all the tasks that are not transaction based first?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it's they do the transaction stuff for sure, but then anything to do with my sphere, except for obviously the one-to-one, the belly-to-belly meetings, or the phone calls. I do all the I do that, but they do send out cards for me. When it becomes important holidays, birthdays, anything, they can do all of that for me. I just put it in one time. They go ahead and copy script, get it off to them. They do a lot of my social media interaction for me as well, and everybody just thinks it's me, and they all of a sudden think I got a lot smarter all of a sudden, but other than that, yeah, I mean, they take care of all the stuff that doesn't have to be personal belly to belly stuff for me, for sure.
I love that. So, well, what is one thing that your VAs do for you now that you didn't originally think that they would do for you? Like, what, you've had different assistants, like you going into getting a VA, you said, I want them to do all these things. But a lot of times that drastically changes from like, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that they could do this or that they're that good at this. So what is one thing you say that you were pleasantly surprised by in the assistant world that kind of changed your life and business?
I think it's definitely the sphere contact, because, it was the Keller Williams way was a 33 touch system, and that was quite some time ago. And then we've implemented more and more touches in order to get the same amount of business. So having them be able to do 75% or more of those touches for me has really helped out a ton and freed up a lot of my time for me for more money-making activities, if you will, and to be more personal. So it's good to know what is going out, because if somebody says, hey, thanks for that card, I want to know what card it was. Yeah. But it's also, it's also a lot of stuff that they can do for me, like I said. And it's, I didn't think, sphere to me in my mind was, hey, it's my voice, it's my text, it's my phone number and things. And it's just a lot of expansion into other things that they do for me, for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that. So what is kind of like, how do you keep track of that? Like, I know that's a question I get, even in my own virtual assistant business, sometimes I struggle with that personally. Like, how do you track what they're putting out there for you? So that way, when you're at the supermarket and Sue says, hey, Brian, I appreciate the card you sent me in the mail the other day. Or, it could just be Facebook, right? Hey, Brian, thanks for the message you sent me. You're like, wait, what? I sent you what? Like, how do you avoid that? Are you guys pre-planning the entire year so you kind of know when and where? Are you guys doing weekly meetings? Like, how are you guys currently structuring that?
So we do it about 6 months at a time out right now, but we also keep track of it through Asana. So I can see in Asana, whenever they do something, it pops up in my email on exactly what was done. So their to-do pops up. I see that it's due, so I see it twice. I see that it's due for them to complete it. So it kind of gets in my mind, hey, I did send I miss you a latte was one thing that we did through send out cards, and send them a Starbucks card. So I sent a I miss you a latte card to, Ben Simmons or whoever, kind of thing. Yep. So that's the reminder for me. So I know, so when somebody does say something to me, I know what they're talking about. So yeah, that's good. So
I love that, man. So you said you sent those cards via send out cards. How did you get the gift card attached to that?
It's right in send out cards. So you can
really?
You can do Starbucks gift card. I mean, there's so much stuff in there. It's and I'm not trying to promote send out cards. I'm not one of the people that get money off of it or whatever, but you can do like brownies. I mean, you can do a lot of different things through send out cards itself and send it to them. Yeah,
I did not know that. Like, I obviously promote send out cards to a lot of my audience. Same thing, like not for the multi-level marketing piece of it, but more for like, we use it in our business. But I didn't even know, like, I knew you could send brownies because I'll sometimes have my VA send me brownies and see if they're actually doing their work. Yeah. But I didn't realize you could do the gift cards, because I don't know if you know this, Brian, whenever I used to teach on the road, every time I teach at a KW office, I would send the TL a Starbucks card.
Okay.
But I'd have to go to Starbucks, I have to ask to buy 50 of them, and then I'd have to address them. And I didn't know that that the whole time we were using send out cards. I had no clue.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really, really cool. So like, do you guys do anything and like send out cards? Like if someone gives you a referral, different things. Are you doing that in send out cards too? Or, how are you rewarding referrals and saying thank you? Like, what is your process on that?
Referrals, we actually do some things differently. We'll use send out cards still for home anniversary gifts. So send them, an Amazon gift card. You can do that through send out cards as well. So yeah, we'll send them an Amazon card, things like that. But, we do, I don't know why I can't remember the knife company or whatever, where you can personally engrave knives. And we do that with our team logo on it and say, hey, thanks for spreading the word for anybody who gives it, sends out a referral. So we'll send them a Cutco knife with our logo on it and engraved in there. Thanks for spreading the word. So it's kind of a spreader knife kind of thing. So that's what we do for our referrals. It's really cool. So
I love that, man. I love that. Now, for everybody not listening, you said you're kind of out of, the Tempe, Scottsdale, this greater Phoenix area. Obviously, anybody watching that's got referrals, send them to Brian. Even though the team I'm on is also out of Arizona, if they're listening, send them to Brian, not Kevin and Fred. Just kidding. So send any referrals. If you guys know Brian, you like Brian, send them to you guys referrals you guys got out in Arizona. But I bring that up, Brian, because I was going to ask you, whenever we used to send out referrals, I was always like, man, I don't want to send out a $5 gift card. That's going to add up after 20, 30, 40, 50 of them. But when I looked back at my budget, like I would do that when I had a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 assistant on my staff. What is having a VA in your business been able to do financially opening it up? And so I started that by saying, what is like your price point? Like what price point do you average right now so people across the country kind of can relate to it?
I'm about 310, 310,000 is about the average, and just because the market's so hot going up. I mean, last year we were probably about 265, and then kind of the same clients. A lot of our sphere, we just gone up to about 310 so far. So
I love that. So commission checks anywhere between 7,500, 12,000 probably is a pretty good average for you.
12,000 would be best, but yeah, more like 7,500.
I love that. So you don't have to answer the following question, but I know we get questions all the time, like especially because like you don't even have a virtual assistant through our company. You've hired us in the past for some training and some coaching, but you got your own virtual assistants. I think you found them, placed them, got some connections to them. So I'd love to kind of pick your brain. You don't have to tell me the exact amounts, but my guess is you're probably paying each of your virtual assistants less than one commission check a year, or pretty close. Is that fair to say?
It's very fair. Yes.
Very fair. And so, so when you have that much savings on a full-time assistant, because you've had full-time assistants before, kind of like I have, and what has that savings been able to do in terms of things that you can go out and do for your clients now?
Well, it's not only the money savings. I mean, it's the time savings, and that's going to increase my business more because I'm concentrating more on the money making activities, and I can get the belly to belly. I've always been too busy because I'm taking my stuff from, out of zip forms or whatever, because I'm high D, high I, and I hate doing the paperwork part of it. So whatever takes somebody who loves doing that, it takes them an hour, it takes me 3 because I find other things to do during it. So now that I can hand it off, it just gives me more time to be doing the money making activities, the sales part of the job that I really love. But yeah, I mean, it just gives you more motivation that you can do, the more people you can bring on and do. I mean, it's endless on what a VA can do. And it doesn't necessarily have to be business, as you know. Like, I mean, it can be personal stuff. I mean, we can, shop online. We can do anything with a virtual assistant now. So it's freed up a ton of my time, and that's been more than what the money can say, so it's the sales part of it, and going out and drinking a beer with a buddy that, that I've closed a home with, you can't put a price tag on that. So yeah, for sure.
Not at all. And like, I believe you have more than one assistant at this time, right? Is that correct?
I've got 4.
You have 4. That's awesome. And what's really cool about your scenario, not everybody may know this, but I believe your virtual assistants, not only are they virtual to you, but they actually all work in like a central location together. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's really, really cool. So I think a lot of people have limiting beliefs like my VAs won't have good internet, or, I've never had anything like that. But not even that, like your virtual assistants work out of a cafe.
Right.
That it's like a central location. It's got good infrastructure. And then I think you even have like a team leader. Is that right? Like a team leader that kind of oversees the other VAs. So talk to me about that. I'd love to learn.
Yeah. So Jeremiah is our team leader. So, and a lot of people, I think, have the perception that, somebody from the Philippines, they don't talk, very good English or anything. And he speaks there's a small little accent that you can tell in there, but you can't tell where it's from, and it's small.
Brian, he even sent me a friend request. He sent me a friend request, and I thought it was just a buddy from down the street. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I didn't even know his profile looked like I just call it Americanized. Like he looked very Americanized. I would have never have known.
Yeah.
That he was living in Manila.
Yep. So we, we recruited him and got him on board, and he's been in the real estate business for quite some time. And he does a good job. He brings a lot of his friends. I mean, one of his friends he recruited that does a great job on social media, graphic design. He was making $1.50 an hour making bumper stickers, So, I mean, just paying him a little bit more than that, he thinks it's the best thing ever. And he's not in a factory making bumper stickers and things. So, I mean, it's if you get one good one, he's going to know somebody, or she is going to know somebody that also wants a job doing, so it can grow as much as you want it to grow. So
yeah, well, and I love how you had yours set up where Jeremiah, has got a little bit more of the CRM knowledge, the kind of moving the master. He's kind of like the quarterback. You can see the things coming, being able to avoid, hey, the CRM changes and this changed, and be able to make that. But then you really got someone that's good at social media and kind of niched down, right? Like, and you've been through this probably with your ISAs. Like, whenever you hired an ISA in the past, did you ever have them try to do tasks that were outside of their wheelhouse, like admin tasks and different things like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, we were all over the place because, I mean, anybody who's done it knows that calling expires just gets tedious, even if it's somebody that, lives in another country and they're grateful for what you're paying them and things, being called names on the phone, that no matter who you are, it gets old after a while. So, you wanted some things for them to do when things weren't going so well to give them a break, but not being real systematic and then just throwing some things at them. They're all over the place and they really don't become very productive. So yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, I hear that all the time, Brian. I'm like, we want an ISA and a social media manager in the same person, and a video editor, and someone that can type me a blog. And I'm like, do you realize that's like God? Like, I don't think that person exists here. I don't think that exists 200,000 a year. I just don't think it exists. So I love how you were able to do what we call direct sourcing, which is what our company helps people do, is direct sources. But you did it yourself, which is really even cooler. When you direct source, you're able to save so much money that you could have 3 people, 4 people. I mean, I'd probably beg to say you're probably paying 4 people what most VA companies would charge you for 1, maybe 2.
Correct. Yeah, just a little bit less than 2 for what they would charge. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's good. I mean, and they're happy with it. We have some incentive-based things for them, and it doesn't take a whole lot to give them a little bit extra. They get a little bit more, involved when they know they have a potential to making a bonus, and what we consider a bonus and what they consider a bonus is definitely a lot different, but it's very much appreciated for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, and you hit it on the head, like $1.50 making bumper stickers. Like, I don't know if people know this, but the minimum wage in many parts of the country is only $5 a day.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa, like it's pretty shocking. And so so tell me, man, what's kind of your future plans? Like, what are you up to today? I learned something new before jumping on today's call. Like, tell me what you got going on these days and kind of what your future plans are for the team. And I mean, at the size you are now, if you have 4 VAs, like, what's kind of your growth goals for your team, your real estate team, your assistant team, all of the above?
Right. So I just merged with another real estate agent in the Valley that does about 4 times the business I do. And she's trying to get systematic and get out of the business. We hear a lot of real estate agents, they're 75 years old. They don't know what to do with their business and they kind of just die at their desk, later kind of thing. And she doesn't want to do that. So she hired me as a director of sales. So we're kind of merging her West Valley location and my East Valley location to become one big team under her umbrella. So under the director of sales, we'll do some recruiting for her, and then also still running the side business with the virtual assistants. And they're going to come on board and help her as well. But they're going to have a little bit more time freed up because she has an actual true transaction coordinator where my guys are doing all my transaction coordinator stuff for me.
Yeah.
So we have the business, the Leverage Heroes business as well, where we're doing a lot of project-based business or, things for people who, hey, I want my things moved from Sync to Boomtown, and I have 10,000 people, and I don't want to do it myself. So for a fraction of the cost, they can just give us a call, and we can do it for them for super
I
cheap.
love that. I love that. Well, let's dive into that, man, because obviously I got a lot of people that are listening here from the EXP world, even more from the KW world. A lot of people know me from traveling the country and racking up a big database of KW agents. So especially for the KW agents, and your company is broker, it's unbroker bias, right? But I know your VAs are really, really good at KW command. Like I know that's one thing that Jeremiah's got a great skill set on. Kind of tell us some of the things that Leverage Heroes does for you. Because I'll be honest, Brian, when people call me and say, hey, Justin, I need a VA for 2 hours a week, 5 hours a week for a small project,
Sure.
Our system's not really built for that, but I know yours is. So kind of tell me what you're seeing people use Leverage Heroes for and kind of the type of tasks more specifically.
So a lot of the busy work stuff, like you said, command, and people who don't know KW, I mean, we've come out with command and it's kind of 75% done, I would say. So a lot of people don't want to dive into it until they have to. A lot of our market centers are going to the point where they have to. So they have all their people in Boomtown, Lion Desk, Sync, or whatever, and they want to start importing them into command. So our guys are going in, taking it out of their current one for them, their Sync, putting it in command, tagging it, putting them on smart plans, whatever they want them to do. So that's probably our biggest thing right now. But we also do some graphic design things, some video editing for people who just do videos on social media. We'll do, we'll take over their page if they have a business page on Facebook and do that for them for just a couple hours. So again, it's not having to, hire one for 4 or 5 hours a day. I mean, we can do stuff sometimes in 2 or 3 hours and get it done for them, and just minimal cost. I mean, less than what we make an hour as a real estate agent, believe me. So, I mean, for 2 or 3 hours worth of work, easy. So.
Well, I love that. And like something else, I talk a lot about to my people that get virtual assistants is what we call zero costing, right? Like it's being able to take your pre-existing staff and zero cost their leverage. So I know like back in the day, some transaction coordinators of ours, they would transaction coordinate like 2 or 3 files for other teams or for solo agents, and they would charge them $200 a file. Now that TC is almost paying a big part of their salary. So, I'm assuming with Leverage Hero, one of your goals as you grow is to help make money to basically where you're not even paying for your own assistants.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're not far from that. I mean, it's we can do a transaction coordination. Obviously, we can't negotiate, an inspection or anything like that for people, but we can do, 95% of the paperwork and everything for them. And, it's $100 a file possibly, to do something like that. We can even send out things just for signature and, through DocuSign, and it's simple. I mean, it's really simple for them to do. And, somebody could hire one of these guys on for $100 a file and save a ton of money if they have a regular transaction coordinator. For sure.
And then it comes to you basically not spending any money for your own assistants. The rest of their 35 hours a week are kind of like on the house.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, I love that, man. I mean, I'm the same way. People all the time go, Justin, but you don't pay. Like, I always make the joke, I don't pay my staff. And they're like, wait, you don't pay your staff? And I'm like, no, they pay their own. Like they work. I'll leverage them out. Like my YouTube guy, he'll do some YouTube videos for other people. They'll pay me $200 because it's saving from 500 or 1,000, and makes our assistants cost zero. So
sure.
I love that. Man.
Yeah.
Well, what would you say is one thing in your personal life that they've helped you with the most? I mean, I know some people use their assistants more or less in their personal life, but do you have any examples in your personal life of kind of where they've helped, or even if it's just reduction of stress in your business, but like, where's the biggest impact in your personal life? Because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, in terms of we do what we do.
Well, I'm terrible at, I get up early in the morning to work out. My computer's open. I go check it out real quick. And then hour and a half, 2 hours later, I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Kind of thing. And that's my workout time. So they have taken that off of my plate. I started working out again. A lot of people don't know it, and you wouldn't know it by looking at me now, but I used to do a lot of ultra, distance events, Ironman, things like that. So it's gotten me back into training. I'm not going to do an Ironman again, believe me, but training is one of the things that I love. But yeah, it's helped me out, and it's helped out my business a lot. It helps me think clear, when I get a chance to work out and do the things I love doing first thing in the morning. And you have to do it first thing in the morning here before it's 120 degrees. So you got to get up early and do it. But it wouldn't matter if I get up at 4 or 6 o'clock. First thing I do is look at my computer, and I finally did away with it, which is, it's been great. So
I love that. I love that. Now talk to me about, like, I know you used to be like an in the office person, like you would go into the office quite often to do things. Like, how has that changed during the whole COVID era that we're in now? Or, depending on when you're listening, when this video was shot, like, talk to me about like the pressure of VAs requiring in-person attention / maybe assistants that you had over your career since 2001 of in-person assistants. Like, what has that been like to have assistants that aren't requiring you to be in person with them? Like, what is that? Has that negatively impacted your business, positively, or how's that adjustment been?
No, it's been positive. It's really forced me to, get a little bit more dialed in on what needs to be done. And my virtual assistants, I can't go to the Philippines and meet with them weekly for a weekly meeting. So it's caused me to be more, structured with them, because they can only hear me or see me on a Zoom call, and that's it. I can't double check their work unless we have some kind of systems in place to do that. So, and it's helped me out with, team members as well. They don't want me micromanaging them, and we've come up with systems where, that has helped. And I go to the office, to be honest with you, just to bounce some ideas off some other high producing agents. I mean, that's the biggest reason I go. I mean, it's just for that. Sometimes you need to pick me up from another agent that's doing well. You hear that they're doing well. Hey, what are you doing different? And we, in our office, our market center, we do a great job of bouncing things off each other. And that's really the only reason I go. I mean, it's that, and maybe talk a little smack, about something else or whatever, and that's it, to tell you the truth. So yeah, it's COVID.
I actually love your market center.
Yeah.
I know a few TLs pretty well out there in the Arizona area, but I didn't even know you back in the day, unfortunately, when I had visited your guys' market center.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that was your guys' market center, but I think that's awesome, man. I think there's also, like, just from my personal experiences, when your VAs aren't sitting there in the same room with you, like, you're able to do some things that you don't feel so guilty about. Like, I know I would sometimes be like, I'm going to go take an afternoon lunch for 3 hours. And then I felt guilty because my assistant was sitting in the office and they were stuck there 8 to 5 because that was just their schedule. Right. And now it's like, my assistants may not always know that I took an extra hour for lunch. Right. And so I don't know about you, man, but I think that's kind of been a cool thing for me that's changed, is I don't feel like they're sitting there waiting for me to come back into the office.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then, I make sure that they know when I'm working after hours as well, because unlike a lot of, assistants, virtual assistants, they, hey, I clock in at 8 and I'm done at 5 kind of thing, and that's it. Well, these guys do a lot of work and things on their own time, just to look things up and make sure that they're doing things well. Doing a lot of studying through, on grammar and things like that, and the real estate market. So, saying things to me, hey, how about if I post this? And I'm like, hey, that's great. I didn't have to tell you what's going on in the Phoenix market. You looked it up for yourself, kind of thing. So it's by them seeing me, even though they don't know that I'm not working a full 8 hours, they see me after hours, they think I'm working 12 hours. It's kind of gets contagious that they want to work a little bit harder. So yeah. So.
No, I love that, man. So so for anybody listening that's, doesn't have it doesn't have an assistant, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a virtual assistant. Some people are set up where they need an assistant in person. What would you say is the number one tip that they need to do in the few weeks prior to bringing someone on board?
Definitely pick out what your top 5 things are that you would want help with. Maybe the top 5 things that, hey, this is what I hate doing. Or, so if it's something that can be done electronically, put it on the top 5 for sure. If it's something face-to-face, they can't do that for you. But if you can pick 5 things, you're going to be able to find a person that's going to be able to do at least 2 or 3 of those. And if the other 2, are something you still really need, then maybe hire another person to do those as well, and then add more to their plate. Or maybe those other 2 aren't as bad as you thought, kind of thing. So it's, and if it's something that frees you up the most, whatever takes the most amount of time, because we don't get paid an hourly rate, but you should be able to break it down to your hourly rate. And you look at what it's going to cost you to hire somebody like that versus what it would cost you to do it yourself. It becomes a no-brainer. It really is. And that was the hard part for me. It really was.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this or not, but the 100K mark, so the $100,000 real estate agent mark, it's $52 an hour.
Yep.
That's the mark. I don't know a single thing that most of us do that's over worth 50, in terms of outside of the money making activities, lead gen, making sure that people are staying legally compliant, getting them the deals of their life. But all the other stuff, making a social media post, I would never pay anybody $50 an hour to do that. Or why would I? So if I'm not going to pay it, why would we do it?
Right. Right.
So I
Yeah.
love that. I love that, man. Well, tell me one thing. Well, kind of the last question as we wrap up here. This is my favorite question. What is the biggest surprise that you've had about your virtual assistants? Like, what is something that they have done that just completely, like, you never thought in a million years a VA could do for you?
I think it's just being personal with people. The more they learn about me and the more I talk with them, the more they can carry on a conversation with somebody that they've never met before on
Yeah.
Facebook or other ways. I mean, they're very smart. I mean, it's a very smart culture. People don't realize just how smart they are. And if they as long as they know what their job is and what it entails, even if it's broad, they will go ahead and dig into it and do it. And it's how many times that people have said something to me where I've had to almost pretend that, yeah, I did say that to you, or, hey, thanks for commenting. Yeah, how are things? Well, the dog that you saw has been great. It's been, a pain. And I'm like, okay, I didn't see this dog, but hey, good to hear, kind of thing, kind of. So, I mean, just their ability to, make myself more personal with people and not miss things I typically would miss in some of my friends or some of my sphere or something on social media that I would just overlook. So
I love that. I love that, man. Well, so as far as Leverage Heroes, and I know people are going to ask about it, how can they find you? What's the best way to contract you guys out for a service of yours, or where can they go look up what all the things you do are?
Yep. So our website is just www.leverageheroes.com. And then right on there, it has a little bit of a snapshot of some of the things we do. There's also just a consultation on there, just a quick 15-minute one. We met with somebody today. It took about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
All the stuff he wanted to do, we gave him a quote real quick and we're on board. So, I mean, it's, if you just break it down, like you said, to an hourly rate on what they're doing and how well they can do it, it's really worth it. And they're there for even more if you want it. So it's, it's really been good. So.
Love that. Well, awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you jumping on here today. You must be in the AC because I don't see you sweating, and I know it's like 120 there today. So
yeah, we don't sweat a whole lot here anyhow. It just dries up too quick. We just die. We just shrivel up and die. That's it.
Man, the last time I was out in your guys' neck of the woods, I rented a rental car and the license plate melted. It was so hot. Like, no joke. I'm like, wait, this rental car must not be from here because it's not. I don't think the license plate should be melting right now.
Oh shoot. Yeah. I mean, it's just, when you get in your car and you burn your legs and you burn your hands when you touch the leather and you have the steering wheel, it's a bad day. So
I love it, man. Well, Phoenix, Arizona, now you're not only on the east side, you're on the west side, north side, south side, all of in between. You guys ever have any real estate needs, call Brian up. We'll have all of his information below in the description here. And, even one of my favorite pieces over that, Leverage Heroes. It's a great company that complements ours because we don't do the small projects for people. So check out Leverage Heroes below, and I appreciate having you on today, Brian.
Great. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.